As the most notable architect in England and Wales, Inigo Jones was the first person to introduce the classical architecture of Rome and the Italian Renaissance to Britain. He visited Vicenza in 1602 and 1606, learned to speak Italian fluently, and bought an Italian copy of Andrea Palladio's 4 books on architecture. He left his mark on London by his design of distinctive buildings such as the Queen's House and the Banqueting House. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the Palladian style had a surge in popularity in North America, where the architecture and symbols of the Roman Republic were adapted for the aesthetics and institutions of the newly independent United States, such as Harvard Hall at Harvard University and Thomas Jefferson's residence called Monticello. Palladio is regarded as one of the most influential architects in the world. Born in Padua in 1508, he apprenticed as a stonecutter, and at the age of 16, he adopted Vicenza as his home, where he worked in the construction industry and qualified as an architect. He designed at least 20 buildings in Vicenza, and many others in nearby cities and towns. His greatest masterpieces in Vicenza are the city's basilica, situated right next to a 12th century tower, the Olympic Theater, adapted from an abandoned fortress and filled with Greco-Roman statuary, the Dwarf's Villa, built for a very short-statured noblewoman and her dwarf retinue, and last but not least, the Rotunda, a much-imitated mansion on a hill just south of the city center. Vicenza also boasts a few important monuments by other architects, such as the sanctuary standing at the top of Berici Hill, which can be reached by a 192-step stairway, Quirini Park, which contains a Palladian gazebo surrounded by a moat, the house of Antonio Pigafetta, a Vicentine navigator and pirate who lived in South America and explored the Indian and Pacific Oceans, and the spooky villa said to be haunted by the ghost of Luigi da Porto, a warlord who was forced to abandon the battlefield and turn to writing after being wounded by arrows. From the Bronze Age until World War II, Vicenza and its environs were a crossroads of civilizations and the theater of conflicts between Austrians and Italians. In the 2nd century BCE, the Germanic tribe of the Cimbri were attacked by the Romans and retreated to some remote mountain villages where they have managed to survive in small communities to this day. An ancient trail composed of 4,444 steps links the village of Asiago to the Brenta River Valley below, covering an elevation difference of about 750 meters. The myths and legends of Vicenza and its countryside are rife with witches, fairies, gnomes, and nymphs. Mount Sumano and further south the village of Custozza are traditionally considered strongholds of ancient pagan cults. The reenactment of ancient battles and feuds has been performed for centuries in a human chess game in the quaint medieval town of Marostica, about 30 kilometers north of Vicenza. During World War I, the Vicentine mountain villages became the most important pillars of Italian defense. The Italians built tunnels and forts to oppose the Austrians, the most remarkable feat being a network of 52 tunnels dug through Mount Vesubio. In 1918, Ernest Hemingway, along with fellow American poets Henry Serrano Villard, John Dos Passos, Sidney Fairbanks, Dudley Poor, and John Howard Lawson, lived in the town of Bassano and worked as ambulance drivers in the hills north of Vicenza. During both the First and Second World Wars, several thousand Italian, Austrian, and German soldiers lost their lives on Mount Grappa. For centuries, the farms around Mount Grappa have been producing popular cheeses such as Asiago, Bastardo, and Morlacco, and a giant sausage named Sorpresa. The local cuisine features several peculiar dishes such as noodles with duck, stockfish with mush, and a delicious mixed fruit pie called puttana, an Italian word that usually means whore. Before I conclude my video, here's a little fun fact. The Indian politician Sonia Gandhi is actually an Italian woman whose maiden name was Mino. Born in a suburb of Marostica in 1946, she married Rajiv Gandhi in 1968 and has lived in New Delhi happily ever after.